Nobody goes to work in the morning thinking, I'm going to hurt myself today. And yet, in the past decade, there have been more than 1,880 traumatic injury fatalities in Australian workplaces. And more than 1.1 million people make serious workers' compensation claims involving more than 1 week of working time lost. Causes range from vehicle-related incidents to falling from heights, stress on the body, falls, slips and trips, being hit by moving objects, or mental stress. In fact, claims for mental health injuries continue to increase. And as comms and change professionals, we're often charged with rolling out communication and change activities aimed at preventing these incidents from occurring. But the way we do it? Well, it hasn't really changed much over the years. Ranging from boring legally speak safety notices to shock and awe tactics like showing injuries to our workers, we keep doing the same thing. And the definition of madness? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So, how can we use the power of communication to help make change meaningful? The type of change that really does make a positive impact to the point of literally helping our own teammates stay safe and well at work. Well, today's guest on the podcast is showing how safety comms can be done differently, and just in time for Safe Work Month, which runs during October. Steve Harvey is a forward-thinking safety professional with more than 18 years' experience across high-risk industries. Hailing originally from Glasgow in Scotland, as you will hear from his delightful accent, he brings his own unique combination of safety expertise, humour and humanity to his work. Steve helps organisations who are ready to make the next step in change and safety by building leadership capability, driving that cultural transformation and embedding operational learning. He's known for blending research-informed insights with a refreshing mix of humour and storytelling, and he's challenging outdated mindsets and making safety more engaging, relevant and effective. And as the host of the Brisbane Safety Differently book club, Steve also interviews the world's leading safety science thinkers and turns complex ideas into practical, real-world strategies. We covered a lot of ground in this episode. Everything from some of the biggest challenges to some of the things he's seen that work really well. How you try and get people over the line to think differently about communication and safety. So less of the legalese and more of the humour, and everything in between. I really love every time I get to chat with Stephen because he is just a delight, and I really think you'll enjoy this episode too. So without further ado, here's Stephen. Stephen Harvey, welcome to Less Chat and More Matter.
Oh, I'm super excited to be here, Mel. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
I'm very excited to have you here, and I've been wanting to have you for a guest for a while, so this is very exciting for me. But before we get into it, tell our audience a little bit about you. What do you do? How did you come to develop your expertise in this space?
A wee bit about me. So as you can probably tell, I'm not Australian, although I've lived in Australia longer than I lived in my home city of Glasgow. So I started off life as a car mechanic. That's how I got to Australia. And then I started working in safety in 2006. So I've been doing this for a pretty long time. And yeah, I love it. That's probably strange to hear. As someone, everyone else is probably like, boo, boo, hiss. But I really love working in safety and I love helping people make sense of safety.
Well, I love the way you make sense of safety. But before we get to that, let's start at the top. What are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to communicating about safety in the workplace?
Oh, there's heaps of them. I think one of the biggest ones for me is we don't write like we're human. And we actually write for lawyers, I think, a lot of the time. I've been involved in a lot of, when we've created safety alerts or whatever, we've actually written them as if they're a lawyer's reading them. And that doesn't make sense, right? And we use colours and numbers and all that sort of thing. When we really should just try and have like a more human-centred... Remember who your audience is, Mel, I think, is what I'm trying to say here. I sometimes feel that we just forget that, and like there's just so much we can do in that space. But I think the key message there is remember who your audience is, and don't forget that ever, because we create safety alerts for the senior leaders in the organisation when we should be creating them for the guys in the front line who can sort of make sense of it. And we write too difficult. So my advice to teams is make it human-centred, but also use the right reading grade level as well. I think sometimes like we like I said earlier, we rate way and above more than what we should. So we should be using that reading grade level 8, I think, when we're writing our safety documentation. So yeah, that's sort of some of the things, some of the challenges that I see, just that in particular, wrong people getting the wrong information.
And in the wrong way. Like you were saying, it's often very high level. If you're talking to people who, they're not in front of a computer all day, their job isn't literacy based. Their job is on the tools, getting stuff done.
Yeah, and another thing that I see this, and I haven't seen any company crack this yet, and I'd love to do it. I've had a crack a few times myself, but again, it makes organisations a bit, oh no, nobody else is doing this, we shouldn't do it. Is we just create these bulletins, like A4 bulletins, and just we have numbers and colours at the top. We explain what happened, and it just doesn't resonate with people anymore. Like people just don't want to do it. But in safety, because we're so scared of ourselves, we think no one else is doing it, so we'll just do it the way that everyone else is doing it.
And I think that's part of it too. It's like, this is the only way it's ever been done. It's the only way it can ever be done. And I found, from a comms perspective, I've worked on lots of safety campaigns over the years with lots of different companies that I've worked in. And they've always just had the same approach. It's always, this is how we've always done it, so this is what we're going to keep doing, and we just need to get out a safety bulletin and we will have ticked a box.
Yeah, that's tick the box.
Yeah. And it's like, well, actually, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to keep people safe, or do you just try and get the compliance thing done?
Yeah, actually, Mel, that's you've just prompted me to think that. So that happens a lot as well. When we give people the information, it doesn't tell us actually what happened. It's just almost like, hey, you go, one of your colleagues has been injured, or even worse, like an injured worker. They don't even humanise it. It's like, hey, anytime I write these alerts, I always talk about one of our colleagues has suffered an injury. Here's what's happened. Here's what we know. Here's how we're going to move on. Here's how we're going to learn from it. But too often it's just IW, injured worker, and people go, what does that mean? Good.
So let's talk about that. In your experience, I know you use a lot of humour as well, which some people might think is a little bit of a bit of an opposite of what we should be doing in safety when it's such a serious subject, is using humour. So maybe talk to us a little bit about the humour piece, and then other strategies that you've seen work in your work.
Totally. Yeah, happy to. Very happy to share a bit. The humour thing sort of just get, like, I'm from Glasgow, right? We're kind of naturally funny. And I'd always wanted to have a crack at stand-up comedy, and I'd just finished my degree, and I thought, what can I do next? What's my next sort of thing that I can do? And I had a look at psychology, marketing, and human factors. And then I saw a stand-up comedy course, and I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a crack at it. Now, one of the major things that I learned from this is anybody can be funny. Anybody. You can actually train yourself to be funny, which is, I hear so many people saying they can't do it. And what I've really, really learned, and after I'd read, studied it, and performed it, what I really like about comedy is you can actually make people feel seen and heard, and you can shine the light on the crazy stuff and get away with it. And unfortunately, in safety, we do a lot of stuff that is pointless and meaningless. So I can get away by shining a torch on that, and everybody can agree, hey, yeah, that is kind of stupid what we do, and that's that bit of connection. So humour, obviously it's a time and a place, like you definitely can't use it in all situations. But if I'm ever delivering toolbox talks or training, I can guarantee you're going to be having a bit of fun, and you're going to be having a laugh. So definitely have a crack at it, see how you go. But some other things that I've done is, like, I'm big on storytelling. I really, really try and hone that skill. I'm forever reading about storytelling and trying to get better at it. It's so important. When I think about, we've been developing stories for tens of thousands of years, and then it's only been the last sort of 30, 40 years that I think we've forgotten our humanity and started using bits of paper and tick boxes to do this stuff. So storytelling is something that I would really encourage safety professionals in particular, anybody, but safety professionals in particular. Look, I use a lot of cartoons, memes. I use my dogs in a lot of videos, and people love the videos. They definitely love that sort of stuff. But I tell you what I have learned in safety, Mel, is shock tactics don't work. And we get a lot of people I know a lot of companies will bring in people who have suffered injuries, and I've suffered an injury in my past. They'll bring in people to shock companies, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, like that will never happen to me." But that's exactly what happens. When you bring someone in who's had a bit of a shock factor, people go, "Oh, that will never happen to me because that guy was an idiot or that guy was dumb." So we really need to hone in storytelling, use images, cartoons, just try and do something that other people are not doing. So that's kind of some of the things that I use. I've created like music playlists and that, Mel, just to and Kahoots. Kahoot is the best. I love it.
I
So,
love these ideas. And you reminded me of, and actually, there's two things here. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. The first one is, how do you get executives and senior leaders to agree to this stuff? Because oftentimes they're the ones who are going to be most risk averse and see this as a risky approach because it's not serious enough or whatnot.
yeah, look, there's a couple of things to this. Make friends with your branding people. That's what I would say. And look, unfortunately, a lot of the time, the work that I would do doesn't go externally, and that does create a bit of angst amongst the executives if we're going to share this alert. For instance, I made like a cartoon safety alert, and I had to say to my boss, like, this is just for internal. If a client wanted this, I would create it in the A4 style, boring, whatever way. I'll be honest, Mel. I beg for forgiveness later.
I've done that too.
I just take a bit of a risk. Once I created a PowerPoint slide deck, and I used the opposite end of the branding palette. You know how companies have got their color palettes, right? The colors that they never used. So I done that once and created a sort of, again, comic strip using our people, and basically went away from the PowerPoint templates that we used. And honestly, people loved it. People absolutely loved it. But if that would have never seen the light of day if it had to go external. That was just me delivering like an internal toolbox meeting sort of thing. But so yes, there is a wee bit of risk with that. You can't go too crazy externally, unfortunately, but definitely internally. Go for it. Again, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. Remember who your audience is. I've had people say to me before, "Oh no, you can't use that word. You can't use that word." And I was like, "But it's not for you. It's for the guys in the field." I'm not talking about swear words or anything. I'm just talking about like everyday language that the guys would use. And it's like, let's remember. I always do that every single time. Remember who the audience is. Remember who's getting the message.
Mm. I think one of the things you also touched on with humour and storytelling is how our brains work. We remember stories. Our brains are wired for that. Something funny is like pressing a save button on your brain because it's released a little bit of dopamine. And so it does seem counterintuitive that we're not playing to those neuro strengths when we're trying to get people to remember stuff that's actually really important. I just don't understand it.
Well, when I work with executives, Mel, they love numbers, and they love colours, like I was saying earlier. And I sort of talked about this before, but there's a book called Making Numbers Count.
Oh, I love that book.
And oh no, it's the best, isn't it? It's the best. And I was having trouble cutting through to a couple of leaders that really had that. They were accountants essentially, and they loved numbers. But I was able to use that book to talk about, and I used ChatGPT, and I will chat about that too. But I used ChatGPT to help me create numbers and turn it into a story. And I remember the lady going, "That was excellent. We want more of this stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, we can do that easily." So yeah, that's like the storytelling. It's so important. It really is. We have to do more of it, guys. We have to do more of it.
100%. So can you tell us a little bit more about, you touched on make friends with the branding people. So this is also something I want to touch on because a lot of people who listen to this podcast are comms professionals, internal comms people, change managers as well. And I'm sure there's been frustrations on both sides in terms of working with the safety guys. The safety guys want to get their stuff out. They always think it's the most important thing. It is. But then you've got other competing priorities from other places in the business. What would you say in your experience is the best way to get everybody on the same page?
I suppose for me, Mel, like because I have such a different weird view on the world as well, it's like they do get a bit risk averse, particularly when it comes to safety. But for me, I find it's just really important to build those relationships and just be sort of pretty strong with again, it's just about like who's our audience, who's the people that are going to impact this the most, who are the, like, why are we doing this? But everybody wants a piece of the pie, don't they? Everybody's documents and that sort of, everybody's all important. And the truth be told, that's why a lot of the time I create this stuff myself. But I get advice from the branding people, so like or the corporate comms people. I would say, like, here's what I want to do. I've got this idea. Boom. Can you tidy it up and fix it up for me? And then I send it out. Mm-hmm. Rather than, I found that whenever I've tried to create something from scratch, it can be quite challenging. People are like, oh, we're too busy for this.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of feel it's a skill. Marketing's kind of a skill, or comms. It's kind of a skill you need to develop, I think, if you work in my line of work.
100%.
Because if you don't, you'll never get anything done. It's like, I mean, I kind of think I am a bit creative anyway, but there's still so much I can learn. There's still so much I can do. But everybody wants a piece of the pie, so if I try and do as much work as I can and then just get the others to help polish it off, I'm a bit happy with that.
And I think that you're onto something there. It's about that understanding. Look, comms teams are really busy. It doesn't not to say the safety people aren't, but if you can make it easier for them and show them that you're willing to get their review and, you know, still have their eyes on it, rather than things just going out without their knowledge, that makes a huge difference in that relationship too. It's, you know, working together and understanding each other is very useful. So let's go into something a little bit more tangible. Could you share some of the examples you've done? Like, you talked about doing a comic strip and those sorts of things. What are some other examples you've done where you think, actually, that really nailed it, that got people's attention?
I didn't do this, but I was involved in the process of its design. That we created a safety policy using a cartoon in one company that I was working with, and that shook people up.
Yeah,
that kind of, people were like, oh, you're not taking safety seriously. You're not doing stuff. You're definitely, like, you're not taking this serious. Why would you put a cartoon? But once we explained it and said, look, it's just again, it gets your attention. That's what we're trying to do with this. So cartoons, there's so many amazing tools out there. I constantly use videos. I'm taking stuff off YouTube and I will adapt it, let's just say. I will change it. I will make it different. I'll make it suitable to what we do here. I use quite often, and something that's very successful for me is, I don't do the work, I just do the saving, is I will follow strategically people on Instagram or Facebook, whoever's sharing these kind of safety clips, and I'll save them and I'll bring them up. I'll save them on my laptop and I'll put them on the screen, and it just generates an amazing conversation. And, you know, if you can guide that conversation, I'm very big on that. I'm really starting to get into create my own videos now, which is cool. Again, that brain of mine, I don't know what it does, but I created a video. It was a number of months ago. I had this idea of I love history, Mel. Like, I really love history, and I love reading about, particularly this safety history. I just love it. And I created this video of if modern safety professionals went back to the industrial era. And it was cool, you know, and they were having conversations in that language of the 19th century. So I get, for me, it's just about generating conversation. I think your mouth and your conversations are the best risk assessment tools you can have. So that's why I'm a big fan of the storytelling, and just have a crack.
Yeah, I love it. I really like you do this on LinkedIn, those on this day in safety shares that you do. And again, I love history as well. Full disclosure here, I'm such a nerd. One of my favorite shows is Antiques Roadshow. I freaking love it. But so when you share those, automatically I'm drawn in. And again, it's a story.
Yeah.
History is a story. And so I'm straight away drawn to that content, as opposed to if you put something up that said, don't walk on a high scaffolding without safety equipment. Who cares?
Yeah,
It'll
totally.
never happen to me, right?
I can tell you the story about it on this day and how it came to
Yeah.
yeah. So too often this is boring safety stuff now, Mel, so you might cut this out. But what happened is quite often companies don't look back in time to the events that have occurred in history. So when I worked at an organisation, what they done was we would go back like a year, 2 year to that day and look at the events that occurred on that day or near enough that day and think, hey, did we actually learn anything from these? Did we do anything with these events? Did we change anything? And you won't be shocked to find that we don't. And I've just been playing around with London from like 300 years ago, and we're still having the same kind of fatalities, people falling off ladders. People, it's fascinating to see. Thankfully, we're not killing as many people. But yeah, but I just love looking back in time and think, what can we actually learn? But like I said, we don't hurt that many people, thankfully. So we want to go back in time and learn and sort of just say, what can we learn from the Great Fire of London?
Yeah, it's one of those things where probably the lawyers get involved, right? So we can't talk about that publicly and say, well, how else do our people learn if we don't share these stories? And not just our people, but the broader industries and sectors that we work in. Don't we have a responsibility to help keep more people safe?
Well, I done it. Gosh, it sounds like a bit of a brag here, but I done a bit of work with NASA. A guy who works with NASA. This guy who works with NASA, and he was really interested, and he talked about this too. Like the lawyers get involved and say, no, we can't share it. But sometimes stuff's just so high profile, and again, it's about that partnering with your lawyers and partnering with those teams, and just sort of saying, what can we share? There's surely we can share something. Surely we can learn something.
It's such a strange oxymoron, isn't it? That safety is the most important thing, but let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that one out.
And I've experienced that my whole career in a number of different organisations. When you're dealing with clients and customers, like we want to go through this pretending that nothing's happening, but the reality, lots is happening.
Yeah.
And so just what can we do to make it more engaging and fun?
And one of the things I talk about in crisis comms particularly is, because I've unfortunately had to work on crisis comms for workplace health and safety incidents and deaths, and everybody knows. You might not have said anything about it through your CEO email or whatever, but trust me, the gossip mill has already gotten ahead of it and everybody knows anyway. So if anything, you want to be the one telling the story because people believe the first story they hear. So you'd want to make sure it's yours. But it's also about how do you build trust with your audiences? And that's where I come back to, I know you've heard me wax lyrical about this, but those 3 T's of trust, like, are you being timely? Are you being thoughtful? And are you being transparent? And obviously, transparency within boundaries, like respecting people's privacy and all those things. But if it feels like you're hiding something, the trust that people have in you starts to erode very quickly. And your reputation as an employer, as a business partner, as a leader is also going to erode very quickly. And that is so hard to get back once you've lost it.
Yeah. Just when you started talking there, you made me think of the Dream World event that happened
yes.
there, like a number of years ago. That company, companies do. Companies obviously don't want this to happen, but I kind of feel like we should start preparing for that. It's like, what are we going to do? And it seemed that organisation that was involved with that, it was such a shocking. I don't really like using the word accident, but it's such a shocking event that they just didn't know how to cope with it, and they didn't know how to communicate properly, and they just made a complete arse of it, really, didn't they? I'm sure as a comm specialist, you can.
It is actually one of the examples I use in my crisis comms training because it is an example of what not to do. To your point, for those of our listeners who are unaware, the Dreamworld event, when was that? early
It
2000s or
was
so?
October 2016, the Thunder River Rapid Rise.
Yeah,
So
so
if people Google search that, you'll see it on Wikipedia.
yeah, so one of the
Bad.
rides, water rides, flipped over, and really sadly, like 4 people died, and it was just awful. But the way the company responded to it was absolutely appalling. Eventually, they got in an external PR agency to help clean up the mess, but by then the damage is done.
Yeah, and people lost their jobs, right?
Yep.
Like there's not many people in the company. They just made a mess of that. And look, I kind of feel that's the kind of thing that the companies don't want these things to happen, but maybe they should prepare for it. You know,
Yeah, and that's what we
who's going
say
to
to
deliver
them.
the message?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best way to manage, or I can't even say manage a crisis because you respond to a crisis.
Yeah.
The best way to respond is to be prepared. And if you haven't already thought through that, why not? That should be part of your risk management sort of process anyway. But coming back to our topic, again, it's mitigation. You don't want to get to that point. So why wouldn't you do everything you could to stop that happening anyway?
Yeah, totally. Actually, Mel, I was thinking, I talked earlier about the history, but I've been looking at some of the posters that companies use from like the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and I've been sharing them internally, and just saying, hey, look at this stuff, just to generate the conversation. Not just what we often do in safety, and we're a nightmare for this. It's just putting posters up on the wall and walking away and forgetting about them, and companies spend a lot of money on that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we make them like a focal point for discussion? Yeah, and rather than just leaving them up there, well, boom, forget about it. How can we use that? And that's why I kind of I've even started creating contemporary versions of these older posters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's easy to do now.
Oh, let's talk about that. Yeah. AI. You talked about ChatGPT before. What are you using AI for in your communication around safety?
Well, I've probably been using ChatGPT right from its very beginning. I'll be totally honest. As soon as I knew about it, I signed on. Actually, just quickly, I remember I didn't meet Brene Brown, but I went to a conference that Brene Brown was presenting at. And this is 2018, and she was saying, AI's coming, you better get fast on it, but it will never replace humour, it will never replace connection, and it will never replace really that fundamental human connection. It's having a red hot crack at it, though.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was right on it from the very beginning, but how I use the AI now really is I create my videos from it. I've started creating my safety posters, so I will find these old safety posters, put it in ChatGPT and say, what's the font, what's the colour, what's the style of this? Can you reprint me an image like this? So I'm just using that. We chatted earlier about one of our favourite books, Making the Numbers Count. I would put in a lot of the stuff. Here's what I'm trying to do. This is the company I'm working with. Can you do something with it? And it does it brilliantly, and then you just polish it. Don't just I think too many people are just copying and pasting and relying on it too much. I research it, and then I put everything that I've got in and say, turn this into a story for me, and then I polish around it. And I kind of think that's a good way to be with this, because it's not going away. In fact, I love it. So AI is just something I'm really just embracing it constantly and just doing things all the time with it. So but I really love it for the posters though. I've started and I've had my dogs. I've got two dachshunds, Mel. Excuse me. And I use the dogs in a lot of my safety videos and a lot of my safety posters, and people love it.
Everybody loves puppies.
Humanize safety, honestly, gang. If you
humanize safety by using dogs.
Yeah, totally.
Actually, you reminded me of before I go into that, firstly, very important question. What are the dogs' names?
Whiskey and Nessie.
That's very Scottish.
The Scottish German dachshunds.
Love it. It reminded me of Queensland Police Media and their social media. They became very well known for it around the time of the 2010 floods here in Brisbane. And they've really run with it. They really set the scene for actually making government comms and very, safety-driven comms so much more fun and personable and connecting with people. And I was talking to a friend of mine who used to be the director of police media at Queensland Police. And he said, anything we do with police dogs in the readership on that just goes through the roof. The likes, the engagement, everything. You put a picture of a police dog on social media, it goes gangbusters.
Yes, mate. Actually, talking about social media and government social media, I actually think the government, Queensland government in particular, do a pretty good job of that. I don't know if you follow Street Smarts. Have you heard of Street Smarts?
No.
So Street Smarts is like their vehicle and transport safety government department here in Queensland. And they do some brilliant comms.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I do share a lot of their stuff and keep a hold of it. Particularly, it's fun, right? People can connect to it, engage with it, and have a laugh to it.
That's it, yeah. And while we're on the subject of social media posts, Queensland Health they're also doing a great job on their social media. They use a lot of humour, and it can be for something as simple as bowel movements. But instead of saying, check this, they wrap humour around it. And they have gathered a really big following on Facebook based on this humour that they're bringing into what are just health messages, which could be very boring, very dry.
Yeah. No, honestly, like I think the stand-up comedy training that I done has really transformed my safety practice. Then my training's changed. I've got high energy now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had to practice this stuff. I just didn't read a book and then go blah, 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 blah. I really have to practice it. And I'll be honest, I have practiced in front of my mirror whenever I'm training. I will practice how I'm going to interact with people. And I use the rule of three quite a lot. I know that you know about I'm sure everybody that listens to this would know about the rule of three, but I use that heaps in all my training and anything that I do. All my LinkedIn communications, you'll always see the rule of three. It's kind of just something I always do, and I actually learned that from comedy.
Yeah, and we had Mandy Plum on the show last year, I think it was, and she runs an improv company, and she talked about how improv can be used, to your point, to really enhance your communication, because you have to think really fast on the spot, but you have to get creative really quickly. And so it's training the brain, like you were saying at the top of the episode. You can learn to be humorous. It's just training the brain to think differently outside of the corporate worlds that we've been brought up in a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, we've covered a lot of ground, but I've got 3 questions that I ask every guest on these episodes. Are you ready for those?
Let's go for it.
Love it. Okay, what is one of the best communication lessons you've ever learned, and how did it change the way you approach communication?
Oh, look, I'm going to go back to what I spoke about earlier. Stand-up comedy and humour changed everything for me. Once I learned about it, I kind of thought I should have been doing this earlier. We talk about levity, brevity. I will find when I'm writing emails, I will definitely chop and cut them back and take them out, and I do that in a lot of my comedy writing too. So yes, without a doubt, comedy, getting to the point quickly, which I didn't do there.
But you made it funny. Okay, second question. What is one thing you wish people would do more of or less of when communicating?
Just remember, like I said at the beginning, Mel, we don't write for the people that need the communications. I just kind of feel that we could get that balance right. I understand that the executives have that sort of pool and the frontline teams have a pool. It's almost like there's 2 different style of comms that you need for these guys, I kind of feel. I definitely think that in safety, there's 2 different styles. But yeah, just remember who your audience is and be bloody human.
Yeah, I love it. And last question, who do you turn to for communication advice?
Well, it has to be you, Mel.
Oh, of course.
You are my first point of call with your books and stuff like that. But I generally, what I've really started doing now is a lot of TED Talks. I've been watching how people communicate, how people are delivering messages. I'm always watching YouTube. I always watch comedy and read comedy, and that's generally, I just been. I think my comedy training and just it really helps me observe the world. So I'm always taking stuff in, and that's generally where I've been getting all my information from YouTube and comedy, and people like you who are amazing at it.
Oh, thank you. Well, Stephen, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Quick shout out for your book club as well. Can you tell us just a little bit about the book club?
Yeah, so I have a book club in Brisbane, which is called the Safety Differently Book Club, and we do not like boringness. Hence the reason why we brought Mel in. We wanted people who bring energy and who can make us smarter. And so then I'm actually doing one on October 23rd, and I've got one of your friends coming in, Mel. I've got Jade coming in.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I've really...
Jade Miller, everybody. Give her a follow.
yeah, Jade's amazing, and her book's amazing. And that's kind of what it's safety differently for a reason. I don't want us just to be. I want us to become more grounded safety professionals. So reach out on LinkedIn if you want to come along. I'll add you to our group, and you can jump in and come and have some beers and pizzas with us.
Yes, and I can confirm, having been to one of the events, great group of people, very human people, and a lot of fun. So it's awesome.
Yeah, they loved you. They loved you, Mel.
Bless them.
That's why we had to get Jade. They want to say we want less safety people, more people who are going to make us better human.
I love it. Well, we'll pop those links in the show notes as well. Stephen, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Less Chat and More Matter.
My pleasure. What an honour. Thank you.